We had, and it was really good actually to see the new media. Maybe we call ourselves the alternate media, the truly free and independent media in New Zealand. And the number of people who interviewed and covered the visit of Helen Joyce, Irish author Helen Joyce, free rights advocate Helen Joyce, women's rights advocate Helen Joyce, speaker of truth Helen Joyce, best-selling author Helen Joyce, who came to New Zealand as a guest of both, I think, Stand Up for Women or Speak Up for Women and the Free Speech Union. And we had her in the studio here. She also talked to Leah. And she was down at the Free Speech Union's annual conference in Christchurch last weekend, I think it was. When I had her in the studio, I said to Helen, has any mainstream media, and given her prominence in the culture wars that the left first said didn't happen and mainstream media said weren't happening, now they say they are, but they're imported culture wars. And I noted that mainstream media, TVNZ, RNZ, had just artfully ignored Helen Joyce during her visit here. So maybe to make up for that, a journalist called Philip Matthews from Stuff, he writes for the Press, went and interviewed her in the last weekend she was here and came up with a piece unbiasedly headlined, Trans Critic Helen Joyce, a visitor from Turf Island, which in itself is a headline which is designed to denigrate and use an aggressive term, TERF, which means trans exclusionary radical feminist, to belittle, demean and diminish the reputation of Helen Joyce. And Philip Matthews then went on with several hundred words about her visit here and the culture war issues she's involved in. I looked at that piece and decided my life was too short to read it over the last few days. But someone who did read it and has published a quite, I think, pertinent, maybe even scathing critique of mainstream media's coverage of Helen Joyce is Fern Hickson from the group Resist Gender Education. And Fern joins us by video link now. Fern, lovely to see you. Good morning.
Hi, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Well, at least... Yep.
Sorry, could I just start by making a slight correction that Helen Joyce was brought here by the Women's Rights Party.
It was the Women's Rights Party, sorry.
Yeah.
I get you all confused. There are so many of you on these issues. Okay. Look, as I said, you've saved me the problem of reading Philip Matthews' things. He's a guy I've come across before and has trolled me and been pretty nasty to me online on Twitter and everything, and always seems slightly angry. But he is a journalist for Stuff, if those two things can go together. And you did read the article, which at least was a mainstream journalist paying some attention to Helen's visit. Overall, how would you describe the piece?
Yes, I was pleased that it's in the mainstream media, but it was full of bias and hypocrisy and also had misinformation in it. And it doesn't make up for the way that Stuff in particular, but all legacy media have just ignored this question for years and years. So I've done an audit of Stuff articles between June 2020 and June 2024. So that's 4 years of writing. And in that time, Stuff published 85 pro-trans articles. And in the same time, they published 2 gender critical articles. So 85 on one side of the debate and 2 on the other. And there were 13 that you could call neutral over those 4 years. So we are not getting balanced coverage of this issue. And Philip's article was also not balanced.
As I said, the headline itself was unbalanced, using that term. I mean, TERF is used as an aggressive criticism, isn't it?
Yes, he used activist language in it. He said that there was an anti-trans push in sport, which is all it is actually women saying that men don't belong in women's sports. But he used the activist language and pretended it was an anti-trans move. He also doesn't even understand the language he's using, because he asked how Helen would respond if a biologically male cisgender man said he was a woman. Well, if you're going to use that language, you need to understand it. Cis man means a man who accepts he's a man. And he can't then say he identifies as a woman. And anyway, it's a slur because it's saying that there's two types of women or two types of men, the real ones and the ones who say they are, whereas there's only one type. We all know you have to be born male or female.
So, well, I guess then, having read the article, and you've done an online critique, haven't you, which you posted an open letter to Stuff or to Philip Matthews. You had any response from them?
On X, Philip did ask me to forward it to his Stuff email address, which I had already done. But apart from that, nothing. I'm not expecting any response because that's par for the course. I've written to Stuff. I told you about the audit I did. I sent that to Stuff. And, no response. And, I've had experience where Stuff has defamed me in the past, and I've asked for a right of reply. And when I wrote my right of reply, they wouldn't publish it because they said it was pejorative and prejudiced. But nothing I said in it, or everything I said in it, was also contained in the Cass review later. So they've just decided that anything that gender critical or sex realist people say is pejorative and prejudiced and won't allow our point of view to be heard and let the public decide for themselves. Yeah,
that's right. They are strange stuff. I mean, they did an article about me in May, which I think is part of the basis for now a claim against me under the Harmful Digital Communication Act, where they published a front page article based on source information from an online pornographer, which seemed just strange to me, and they wouldn't. They gave me a letter to the editor, was all they'd do. Isn't it encouraging, though, that at least the alternate media and groups like yours can now at least prick one member of legacy media into acknowledging there's another side to their propaganda?
Yes, I am pleased that the silence has been broken, but I don't think there's anything to celebrate until this is regularly happening, because as I said, this is this is the first time for a long time that anyone significant on the sex realist side has been interviewed by legacy media. And I find it astounding that someone of Helen Joyce's standing, she's a best-selling author, and has a stellar career as a journalist.
But she's not. She's a trans critic and a visitor from Turf Island.
I thought it was interesting that Philip challenged Helen, which is his job as a journalist, but he didn't challenge Jennifer Shields when she said that Helen's views were irrelevant in New Zealand. I'd like to know what's so special about New Zealand. Do we have different sort of humans and
different biology, rules of biology? Might be
children go through a different puberty here, so we can give them more puberty blockers because puberty is a completely different experience in New Zealand. This is the problem, not challenging. Journalists are supposed to challenge both sides, not just one side.
Fern, do you think he'll come back to you? Do you think he'll respond to your criticism?
I don't know. I've never had that happen before, but and I mean, this isn't just the media. This is also all the politicians. I've written hundreds of letters to politicians, and sometimes I don't even get recognition that they've received it. So sometimes they just ignore it. Sometimes they just say thank you for your letter, and almost never do they actually answer
or engage. And that's the way cancel culture generally on the left works too. Is you just blank people. So I think it is progress. Where can people find your online critique of the Philip Matthews article?
It's on Substack, the Resist Gender Education Substack.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. We look forward to that. I do recommend people read it. Would you mind if we republished it on the platform?
No, I'm happy for you to do that. Thank you.
Good on you, Fern. Thank you for your time this morning. Keep up the good work.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thank you.
That is Fern Hickson from Resist Gender Education.